This is the Epoch 12460. The stats on it are definitely eye-catching. It's been referred to as the battle-born killer. Today, I want to see, what does this battery mean for RVers? So I'm going to put it on the RV and test it out. I want to see how far we can push a single battery on the RV. How does it stack up against the competition? What are the features packed inside of here? And what is the one problem that I had with it? So let's get started. There is so much packed into this battery, I almost don't even know where to start. If you just give it the quick list, it's one of the lowest price point batteries from an American company. That's a high capacity, has Bluetooth, heated, Victron communications, waterproof, that's capable of high current output. So what does that mean for RVing? So let's just break some of that down. First off, price and capacity. This battery is at just under $1,800, but it is 460 amp hours, which is massive. That puts it at 30 cents a watt hour. And they also have batteries that are at 22 cents a watt hour. So that's, I do it that way because it breaks down the price when you're trying to compare batteries. And that's why I put it in the battery buyer's guide, because when you're looking at this battery that's 460 amp hours, and if you wanted to compare that to a game changer, which is 270 amp hours, you're trying to play that quick math. But if you can see the price per watt hour, it kind of clears that up and makes it really simple. Battleborn at 72 cents a watt hour and Epoch battery at 30 cents a watt hour with all these features. They do have in their essential lineup the 460 amp hour battery, and it goes for 22 cents a watt hour. So that's a pretty low price. But I wanted to test capacity on this battery to see if we could get that full 460 amp hours, and it passed that test, exceeding the 460 amp hours. So with it passing that test, let's get into the rest of the features. First off, it has an on-off button. So on this other side, you can turn it on and off, which I have grown to like that on a battery. So when you're working on your system, you have less chance of arcing something and causing a large problem. And for storage, you can turn it off so it's not going to self-discharge as fast with the BMS and the Bluetooth and all those things that are associated with the technology that's packed into here. So they do have a secondary button. So they have a remote button that you can put on here. So that way you can mount this anywhere that you wanted to in the RV. Say this was behind a wall or behind plexiglass. So we wouldn't need this for our system, but some installations I could see this being a handy thing. The next thing we have is a battery gauge. And I thought, why do you need a battery gauge when you can check it with the Smart Shunt or on the Servo GX or in the Bluetooth app? This is kind of one of those things you can install somewhere, and at a quick glance, you kind of know roughly where your battery percentage is at. And it of course also has Bluetooth, so for more information, you can see the voltage, where the battery is at for percentage, the cycles, you can go into more details of the cells, each of the cells voltage, you can get the temperature. Then it takes it a step beyond that, and it has Victron communication. So we have these two ports on the side here where we can tie in our communication. We have one labeled Victron and one labeled CAN, and we can bring that information, those wires, over to our Servo GX. So now that imports all the information that's coming from the BMS into the Victron system. So I can click on the battery, get that information. I can go down and see the battery temperature. I can click on details and see what the actual temperature is on the cells and some of the stats on the voltage of each individual cell. And so you have the option of having that information come right into your pages, and it can read for your battery down here what's happening in the BMS. I still prefer to have the shunt give me the information of the status of the battery as far as percentage. And then sometimes I'll actually compare those two, and sometimes there'll be a little bit of drift on one or the other. And sometimes one will get tricked thinking that it actually synchronized to 100%, and you can check one versus the other. So that comes in handy. But I love that about Victron. They let other people network into their system, which is great. So even if you don't display that information on your pages, you can still remote access into VRM. So you now have remote access to see what's happening to the BMS inside of the battery remotely, even when you're not at the RV, and track some of that information in the VRM portal. Now, something that I wish all battery manufacturers would do is what they did here at the bottom, is they have threaded mounting options down here. So you don't have to try and figure out how you're going to strap it down or hold it down or keep it from moving or vibrating loose. You can literally put brackets on here, thread them into the case, and bolt that down. The Battleborn and EcoFlow, they both have mounting options for their batteries as well. Another feature that it does have is it's waterproof, IP67 waterproof. So you're supposed to be able to submerge it for up to 30 minutes, but it being waterproof, I'm sure is great for the marine industry. Now, along with that, for the form factor, it's 20 3/4 inches long, it's 12 inches tall, and 8.5 inches wide. So I could technically fit 2 batteries side by side in this space and have over 900 amp hours of battery just right here. But with the capacity that it has, I imagine there's going to be some people that just want to have one battery and pair it with an inverter. So I wanted to see how well it did for RVing in that situation. And I gotta tell you, it can definitely produce more than what our inverter can draw. So I wanted to test it with 2 ACs, which is definitely not practical, but I wanted to see if it could do it. Okay, we got 1 AC going. Let's give it a try. It's doing it. I'm not gonna ask it to do it long, but it's doing it. This test turned out exactly as I expected. The battery had no problem keeping up with the demand of the inverter, and the problem was the inverter was maxed out. But the point was there is that the battery had no problem doing that because it has a 300 amps out continuous, a 500 amp surge. So we could be maxing out this inverter and still be using the landing gear or the leveling jacks on our RV, and it could do both at the same time. So for a setup like this, the battery is definitely not going to be the limiting factor. If you were doing a bigger inverter or dual inverters on here, you definitely wouldn't want to just go with one battery. That'd be a terrible design system. But anyways, this battery can hold up to what that inverter is trying to draw. I think a system like this with 2 batteries would be pretty sweet, because if you ever do have one of these batteries go down and you have to use that 11-year warranty, you then have the ability to have that other battery as a backup. You're still functioning your entire system well, and then you can send that off for warranty. So a little bit of redundancy built into your system. Now, the one problem I was having with this battery is I was getting alert for high voltage. So 2 things on this. I was actually getting the alarm through the Victron system because that's all interconnected. That was what was letting me know that the voltage was too high in the battery. The second thing is that the voltage settings for this battery are lower than other lithium batteries that I've used. So they recommend running it at a 13.8 for the absorption voltage and a 13.4 for the float voltage, which was lower than the previous batteries that I had in here before, and I hadn't changed any of those settings. So changing the settings, I didn't get that high voltage anymore. So that made me want to add one more thing to the battery buyer's guide, and it's really the preferred settings from the manufacturer for each of those batteries, because it's going to be a little bit different depending on which battery you have. So you can click on this battery and you can see what those settings are recommended from Epoch batteries. They actually kind of made this difficult whether to go with this battery or the Essentials battery, because if you do the Essentials battery, you can save some money, get 2 of them, have a massive battery bank for capacity, or go with this and get the Victron communications. I love the idea of being able to tie that into the VRM and be able to track that information as it goes. So it's not lost information, you're actually getting to track it. So either way, I guess you're looking at 22 cents a watt hour currently, or 30 cents a watt hour. Both those are really good prices. So I guess it's a win-win. I'm gonna put a link down in the description to this battery, obviously, and the battery buyer's guide, where you can look at the things that you're really trying when you're looking at a battery, trying to decide, will this work for my situation? I try to put all that information in one spot so that you can make the decision that best suits your needs. But overall, I'm really impressed with this battery. It delivers on all its claims. It's veteran-owned, high quality, and packed with features. So anyways, I think that's going to do it for today. That's what this battery does and means for RVers. I hope this information helps you make an informed decision for what best suits you and your needs. So anyways, that's going to do it for today. Thanks for watching. If we don't see you on the road, hopefully we will see you next video. Take care.